But on Capitol Hill, some lawmakers may be looking at the recent bipartisan budget deal as a sign of some momentum for the next year. According to a Fox News poll, most voters are still, though, out of the loop when it comes to that agreement. Only 15% support it, 19% oppose it. Nearly two-thirds of those surveys say they don't even know enough about it. On the other hand, voters may appreciate any sign that gridlock on Capitol Hill could be breaking. Look at these approval and disapproval ratings for Congress. 16%, that's up a bit from last November. So what can we expect for next year, an election year? Joining us is Republican Congressman Rokita of Indiana, member of the House Budget Committee. He's in Indianapolis. Congressman, welcome to Fox News Channel today.
Hey, Eric. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to you. Before we get to Obamacare with this looming deadline for people to sign up tomorrow, look, you have a budget deal, but there's no entitlement reform, no big spending cuts, corporate tax loopholes and the like. You think Washington can ever get a real handle on spending?
Well, we need people to work with. We need people that understand that we do, in fact, have a spending problem and not a revenue problem. Look, Eric, we've tried it both ways now. If you look back at 2013, you saw us go as far as shutting down the government for 16 days, not compromising at all. And, you know, quite honestly, I'm one that thinks that the verdict is still out on that. But certainly our poll numbers went down, but now they're back up again. And then you saw us try it completely the other way, where we put two people in a room to see what we could agree on and then let it fan out from there. We got a great vote for that budget deal. I think Paul Ryan did a great job, but Paul Ryan and me, for that matter, a lot of others aren't saying that this was the be-all and end-all. If you look at that deal, it was a shaving on mandatory spending reform. It was slightly better, maybe even a truce, but or at best slightly better than the sequestration deal that we currently had. But it's certainly, and no one is saying that it solved our deficit and debt problems. And so the American people now have seen it both ways. Is there a third way, Eric, or which of the two ways would they rather us go down?
Well, a lot of people.
That's what 2014 will be about.
A lot of people say we need more than a shaving. I mean, you need more of a cleaver made, perhaps. I mean, look at that. It's $1 trillion is still increasing.
Well, listen, the only way you're going to get a cleaver to it is to address what we call the mandatory spending, and that is our spending on our social entitlement programs. The main drivers of that are Medicare, number one, and then Medicaid and Social Security behind it. This deal didn't address any of that. It did some other mandatory spending reforms, basically on our military and on our civilian federal employee pensions. So there's a lot to get to, but, you know, compromising is not going to get this solved necessarily. In fact, I'd argue that compromising has caused this $17 trillion in debt with another $100 trillion on the way. So you want to take a cleaver to it, and you're talking more like the shutdown avenue again or something like it. Because of this deal, by the way, we're not going to face a shutdown in 2014 at all.
Well, would you advocate going that way? I mean, in March, we're going to face another debt ceiling crisis.
Well, and we have that to fight on, or use that as leverage to make some reforms and solve some things. That's what I'm aiming to do. And again, I think Paul and others have said this as well. You know, send us some partners. Send us some people who understand that spending is the issue, not revenue generation. Because here it is, Eric. We can take everything Todd Rokita makes, everything Eric Shawn makes, everything Patty makes, everything Oprah Winfrey makes, and still not pay off this debt or deficit.
I don't know if they want to know what I make can make any little dent in anything. Meanwhile, we got this looming deadline tomorrow for signing up for Obamacare, and the White House is defending it, saying it's all going to work out. But look, delay after delay after delay, and today experts are saying folks are going to get a sticker shock. What should we do? How does that affect the spending, and how would this affect the election next year?
Look, this law has to go. There is no fixing it. It's like, you know, you hear people like Chuck Schumer say, well, we implore you to help us fix it. He's basically asking us to change the drapes on a house whose foundation is crumbling into the sea. I mean, that's what's happening here. The foundation of this law was so poorly planned, so ill-conceived, so against market forces and was rammed down our throats. Remember, we had to pass it so we could read what was in it. And now 3-4 years later, whatever it is, these people still don't have their act together. They won't be able to get their act together. I'm not trying to scare folks, but they need to be ready. Look, in my previous job when I was Indiana Secretary of State, we built several pretty complex databases and back-end systems. And if they're having these crash problems on the front end, I'll bet you at dinner next time I see you, Eric, that data, once it's getting in there, is not getting transferred accurately to the back end and part of it and the insurance carriers who need that information so that people can be properly insured.
So what do Americans do? I mean, the New York Times yesterday had a front page piece saying this is going to really hit middle-class Americans, that they're going to have their prices go up in some cases, and they don't know that it's coming.
Well, we are a country of laws, despite Mr. Obama changing them on his whim, and we need to follow the law. The American people need to solve this problem in the next election by putting people in there who will repeal this law and put some sensible, market-driven reforms in there that we have that won't exclude anyone with pre-existing conditions. We can take care of that issue. We can do these things as a mature, industrialized nation, but still not break the bank and still do this in a consumer-driven manner, in a patient-centered manner. Give us the chance to do it.
Well, Congress is going to be back in session. The deadline is tomorrow, and it will continue after the new year. Congressman Todd Rokita, thank you for joining us from Indiana today.
See you, Eric.
Absolutely. Patty Ann?